Welcome to Watches TV, and now we're going to talk about your watches that are made in Russia and that you brought here in Geneva for Geneva Watch Days. So, which one of these timepieces that we see here is the most popular so far at the moment?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Honestly, they're all popular. I can show you the latest watch that came out in June this year. It's a re-edition of the famous Raketa Avant-Garde. You know, Avant-Garde is the famous Russian art that in the future became contemporary modern art. So, but it all started with Kandinsky, Malevich, and this is a famous avant-garde Raketa watch. So all of the design is in an avant-garde style. The hands are triangular. What I really, really like in this watch is that we've written all of the numbers in letters. So in Russian, we write 0369. So that's our latest watch, and it's really interesting. It's very original, very different from what you see usually in the watchmaking industry, and it sells very, very well.
So it's totally made in Russia, meaning that you produce your own movements and cases and everything.
No, we didn't produce 100%. I would say that I hold in my hands a watch that is made in 85, 90% in Russia. We didn't produce everything in Russia, but 90% we do produce. And in particular, we produce 100% of the mechanical movement, which is the most difficult. So the movement itself is 100% produced in-house by our own watchmakers.
And you just told me that you work, you have no CNC machines at your manufacturer, and you work like um,
Manual.
mechanical, semi-manual, yeah, in a way. How does it work for you? Like, how can you still stay at this stage and don't evolve into a huge manufacturer with CNC machines?
Because our manufacturer is an old Soviet manufacturer, so we basically inherited of a Soviet production manufacturer. And obviously, everyone told me you have to buy CNC machines, but I went to Switzerland and I saw that each machine is like 500,000 Swiss francs or a million francs, and we didn't have that kind of money. So we ended up continuing to work on like old school production, like in Switzerland you worked 60 years ago. And actually, we have a lot of Swiss specialists who came over to visit our manufacturer and said, "Wow, it's amazing. Don't change anything because there's a lot of you have an incredible human touch because every single component is produced by hand by a woman or a man, and you have a lot of emotions in our manufacture. So the only reason why we didn't switch to CNC is just because it's too expensive.
So
And also the old school production works very, very well. If the machines are very simple, there's no software, there's no electronics, so it's very easy to repair.
or it can't break that easily as CNC
Yeah,
machines.
it's just metal, and so as long as you maintain the machine properly, in 100 years it'll still work.
Yeah, it gives a special touch to each timepiece that
Yes.
comes out at your manufacturer. So coming back to this timepiece, what was the inspiration? You said it was avant-garde art from the Soviet era. Have you thought of doing something like the black, completely black dial, like
Well,
Malevich,
yeah, we did
like
that. We actually did that, and a few years ago, and it was a collaboration between us and the Tretyakovsk Gallery, which is the most famous museum in Moscow, and they have the painting of Malevich, the Black Square, and that's really the beginning of modern art. It's completely abstract, and we did a watch based on that. But that was a limited edition. This is not a limited edition. This is a design from the Soviet times, from the 70s of Raketa. And actually, every single watch that we have is inspired by the Soviet designs of Raketa. We didn't invent anything new. And for us, it's really important because in the Soviet times, they had really cool designs. They had designs with a very strong storytelling, a Russian storytelling. And we want to continue like that.
so I have a lot of sketches.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you come one day to visit us, we'll show you. We have like more than 1,000 watercolors because today all of the designers work on the computer, but in the 60s, 70s, people designers worked with watercolor. So we have nearly 1,000 designs in watercolor of every single model that they invented, and we have a source of inspiration which is for the next 100 years.
Yeah, so have a lot of work for the future years. And I know that here I see another timepiece which is made from the part of the submarine.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this one?
So Rakiata is, to my knowledge, one of the few factories that's based in next to the sea. St. Petersburg is a port, the Baltic Sea. So there was always a tradition at Rakiata to make watches for sailors, for submariners, and we continue this tradition. So in our collection, we continue having a watch for submariners. So this is also really, so it's a 24-hour dial, because when you're in a submarine and you look at a normal watch, it says like 2 o'clock, but you have no idea if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you need a 24-hour dial. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon would be 14. The hour hand would point at 14. And so it's a 24-hour movement. The hands are based on the design of the hands that you find in every single Russian submarine on the control panels. Really cool design. And the bezel is made from a titanium piece of a Russian submarine that was called the Cachalot. So it's also a lot of emotions in that watch.
Yeah, and kind of a collectible timepiece.
Yeah. And people like it very much because it's 24 hours, because there's a piece of metal for a real submarine, because it has a strong storytelling, the design, and all of that.
What's the size of this watch?
44 millimeters.
Yeah, it's quite huge, actually. Like not.
It's big, but I have a small wrist, and it sits very well on my wrist.
Yeah, it's perfect. And this one, the Avantgarde, this is smaller.
This is 39.5.
39.5.
Yeah, so our collection goes from 39.5 to 44.
Okay. So you have a range of options. You have a
Yes.
range of
Yes.
dials as well. And this is the Big Zero, if I'm not mistaken.
This is the famous Big Zero, which is also designed from the 70s. It has this very minimalistic design, a bit aggressive numerals, these big numbers, 0, 3, 6, 9. And especially what's really interesting is the 0. And I asked one of our old watchmakers, why did you come up with this idea to put a 0? Everyone puts a 12, why did you decide to put a 0? And his answer was very simple. He said, basically, time is cyclic. Every day starts from a 0, every month, every moon phase, every season, every year. Time is cyclic. So it's much more logical to put a 0 at the top than a 12. You don't count 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just much more logical. And since then, gradually, every single Rakiata watch switched to 0. And today, every single watch that you see has a 0 instead of a 12. So we never use 12 anymore. And that's like, it's a feature of Rakiata that we will keep like that.
It's like a new DNA of the brand.
It's part of the DNA of the brand, yes. It's different from what you see in the market. And every single Rakiata watch, our collection is very small. We have like 10 pieces on our collection. But every piece has a very strong storytelling. There's a lot we can say about every single watch. And usually someone who wears a Rakiata watch can talk about his watch for 5 minutes non-stop. About the old school production, the design, the 24-hour movement for cosmonauts or submariners, the hands that go counterclockwise for this timepiece. So we want to keep it that way. We don't do just normal classic watches with no storytelling.
So speaking about watches, your watches are well known to be robust, but are you planning to implement some kind of complications into watches?
No. First of all, we have in our drawers a lot of complications that date back to the Soviet times. We have the date, the double date, réserve de marche, I don't know how you say that in English. So we have a lot of complications. So gradually over time we can reproduce any one of them. But today we don't really need that because there's so much storytelling around the watch. Usually people do complications because they don't produce the mechanical movement themselves. They buy the base mechanical movements and they have to add something to say that we also are watchmakers. We don't need that because we produce our own base mechanical movement, which is actually much more difficult to produce than a complication. And so we only have two complications, is the 24-hour movement and the counterclockwise movement. And each of these complications tell a story. The 24-hour movement, it fits in the storytelling because it's for astronauts and for polar explorers and for submariners who need to survive a 24-hour movement. The counterclockwise watch also tells the story of the movement of the planets around the sun. So it fits in the DNA of the brand, which has a lot about the cosmos. But like the calendar, doesn't tell any story in particular. So that's the reason why we didn't relaunch it, because we didn't really need it, because it doesn't tell any story in particular. And each of our watches already has so much to say that we don't need to do complication.
Okay, so where can we find your watches if not in Russia?
Oh, we sell them all over the world by internet, and we have a physical partner in Switzerland, in Bern, Ursachen, a very, 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 very good shop of independent brands. Otherwise, for internet, all over the world, and we have different shops in different countries.
And you said there's shop in France and...
Yeah, we have a shop in Paris and so on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for showing us your fabulous timepieces, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.